This is a minifig scale Caltrain MP36 with two Bombardier bi-level cars. I say minifig scale, but let's be clear. Minifig scale isn't a real scale because minifigs aren't proportional to people. Scaling to the height of a minifig would be one scale, and scaling to the width of a minifig would be an entirely different scale. To me, minifig scale means sizing something how Lego would in order to accommodate minifigs. Now, I hinted at this build in the ranking rolling stock video. I had wanted to do it for a while because the LUG had been doing more shows with less train focus and not enough room to run 1:48 scale equipment. This Caltrain would be smaller to better fit these layouts, be more robust to maximize uptime, and be lighter to stress the motors less. I also wanted to have a loaner train for things like trains in the park. I aimed to make something of similar complexity to the old Santa Fe and BNSF engines, somewhere between contemporary city and creator trains. Designing something like an actual set was not necessarily straightforward, especially where existing sets did not set any precedent. For example, I had originally wanted to build the new Stadler EMUs, but LEGO has never made a full bi-level train, so I did not know how to handle that, particularly since the train motor does not fit under the well piece. Furthermore, I last did a non-scaled train more than 10 years ago. I ultimately decided to try an MP36, which I had done in 1:48, and a pair of Bombardier Bilevels, which I had not done in 1:48. As of this writing, these locomotives and cars are still in service on the Gilroy branch during commute hours, and therefore contemporary. The Bombardier Bilevels also work better with the well piece as a base. I tried to template the Bilevels off of the Metroliner Club car, but the dissimilar windows and the tapered ends really made that difficult. The roof has to stud on rather than hinge open, though the upper floor comes out the same way. The Bilevels are also a plate or two taller than the club car, though this does give additional headroom for minifigs with bigger hairpieces. I really wanted to have working doors, but I could not find a good currently available option. The Locomotive has the same architecture as the 10,020 Santa Fe. The front is snot with curved bricks, and the body is studs up with a mix of bricks, panels, and doors. I modeled the large patterns in brick and used stickers for text and logos. The roof comes off in one piece, and it has the usual 3x3 discs as greebles. I opted to save the interior space for a battery box and wiring rather than build a fake engine, and I left room for light elements in the nose, though it made the construction messier than desired. When testing the Locomotive, I discovered that the pinholes in the train base, or at least this version of the train base, aren't created equal. If a 9-volt motor in the outermost hole has an attached 9-volt connector, it will catch on the anti-studs underneath the base. This means that the lights must be wired to the rear motor when running on track power, and I can't join 9-volt motors to improve conductivity. That being said, while I mostly intend to run the small Caltrain with 9-volt motors, it can of course use any of the various train motors, though Power Functions needs a cutout for the receiver, and Powered Up can't drive 2 motors and lights. As built, the entire train might be light enough to get away with a single motor. It is definitely light enough to run without tires. For this demo, I am using a hodgepodge of an RC motor and a not PF motor paired with a Mold King hub and real PF lights. Finally, let's take a moment to compare the size of this thing to a proper 1:48 scale build. I also want to compare the fidelity of the modeling to the sets I mentioned at the beginning. I'll leave it to the viewer to decide how close I got to official LEGO. On that note, this is the end of the video. Please consider subscribing if you like what we do, and have a nice day.